It all began with a promise of a jubilee meant for everyone, a sacred year that was supposed to bring mercy, reconciliation, and healing. The Vatican declared that this celebration would break down walls, erase divisions, and welcome all Catholics, no matter their background or differences. It was presented as an invitation to unity, a jubilee of open doors. But soon, the faithful discovered that this promise was not as open as it sounded. For thousands of Catholics attached to the ancient rites of the Church, what looked like a warm embrace suddenly turned into rejection. And this rejection did not happen quietly or in secret. It happened openly for the entire world to see. The Society of St. Pius X, known for guarding the traditional Latin Mass and the sacraments, as they had always been celebrated, had planned a pilgrimage as part of the Jubilee. It was no minor event. It had been announced publicly, placed on the Vatican's official calendar, and prepared for months. The faithful would gather at the Basilica of St. John Lateran, pray the Rosary together, and walk through the Holy Door, the powerful symbol of God's mercy and unity. Then, without explanation, everything changed. In mid-August, their pilgrimage quietly disappeared from the Vatican's calendar. No statement, no reason. It was simply deleted, as though it had never been planned. This was not a mistake there. Event alone was removed, while others remained. The signal was clear. Their presence was no longer welcome for Catholics who loved the old liturgy. This was a crushing blow. The Jubilee that had been promised to all suddenly excluded them. They were told they could belong, but only in silence, only unseen. The year of mercy became, for them, a year of humiliation. And the wound deepened further just days later. On August 15th, Cardinal Anders Arborelius of Stockholm issued a statement that shocked many. He accused SSPX priests of celebrating sacraments unlawfully and warned Catholics not to attend their chapels or receive their sacraments. His message implied that anyone who participated with the SSPX was stepping outside the unity of the Church. This statement came immediately after Bishop Bernard Fellay had administered the sacrament of confirmation to young Catholics. These confirmations were undeniably valid in theology. No one doubted that. Yet because the bishop was considered irregular by church officials, what should have been a joyful milestone for families became instead a cause for controversy and scandal. Parents and children who should have been celebrating were left wondering, was the sacrament recognized? Was it lawful? Did it count? Bureaucracy had overshadowed grace. Here the contradiction stood out sharply. The Vatican proclaimed mercy and inclusion, yet its representatives turned the sacraments into weapons of division. But 1 week later, on August 22nd, the Society of St. Pius X issued a response. Calm but firm, their open letter landed like a shockwave. It did not rely on emotions or opinions, but on facts that could not be denied. Signed by Father Carl Stellan and Father Haken Lindstrom, the letter recalled what many had forgotten. In 2015, Pope Francis himself had granted all SSPX priests the faculty to hear valid and licit confessions. In 2016, that faculty was extended permanently. Then, in 2017, bishops were authorized to delegate SSPX priests to celebrate marriages, officially recognized by Rome. None of these permissions have ever been withdrawn. They remain in effect today, which means that Cardinal Arborelius, by declaring their sacraments illicit, was in direct contradiction not only with reality, but with the Pope himself. The Society pointed out this clear inconsistency. If Rome recognizes their confessions and marriages as both valid and licit, how could anyone declare all their sacraments unlawful? The argument collapses, but their response went deeper than legality. For decades, critics had accused the SSPX of being schismatic, yet both Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis had explicitly rejected this view. The SSPX was treated as part of the Church irregular, yes, but not outside. Even respected voices like Archbishop Athanasius Schneider have defended them, calling it unjust to treat Catholics attached to tradition as though they were enemies. The priests also highlighted another irony. Groups outside the Catholic Church, altogether without valid sacraments or apostolic succession, are often treated with tolerance and respect. Meanwhile, Catholics of tradition, who pray for the Pope at every Mass, are treated with suspicion. No group in schism prays for the Pope daily. The SSPX does. That fact alone destroys the claim that they are separated from the Church. But perhaps the most troubling decision of all was Cardinal Arborelius' instruction to exclude SSPX confirmations from diocesan records. This is more than bureaucracy. Without those records, Catholics risk serious problems later in life when marrying, when baptizing children, or proving their sacramental history. The priests warned that this would cause great confusion, placing families into a kind of limbo. Valid sacraments would exist before God, yet be erased on earth. Here lies the real contradiction. Rome grants faculties for confessions and marriages, but a cardinal blocks the recognition of confirmations. The division is not within the SSPX. The division lies inside the Church's own hierarchy between papal decrees of mercy and local acts of exclusion, and the faithful are left bewildered. They do not care about bureaucratic maneuvers in chancery offices. They care about the sacraments, the confessions that forgive their sins, the confirmations that strengthen their children, the marriages that bless their families. Yet some church leaders seem more afraid of Catholics who love tradition than of empty pews, heresy, or the collapse of faith in Europe. While many parishes are closing, SSPX chapels are filled with families, filled with children, filled with life. Instead of seeing this as a blessing, some treat it as a threat. And so the question must be asked, who is truly dividing the Church? Those who hand down the Catholic faith, celebrate valid sacraments, and pray for the Pope, or those who use technicalities and bureaucracy to drive faithful Catholics into the shadows? This is not just about one community, it is about the very future of the Church itself. And this is where the story turns into something much larger than one canceled pilgrimage or one public statement. What happened with the SSPX is a mirror of a deeper struggle inside the Catholic Church today. A struggle between words and actions, between promises of openness and the reality of rejection, between the image of mercy that is preached and the harshness that is sometimes practiced. Because what the faithful see is not unity. They see contradiction. They hear the Pope speak of dialogue, but they watch bishops close doors. They hear about inclusion, but they see entire groups of Catholics treated as if they were outsiders. They are told to trust the hierarchy, yet they watch one hand of the Church bless what the other hand condemns, and in the middle of this confusion stand ordinary Catholics, families, children, priests who only desire to worship God as their ancestors did. They are not chasing politics. They are not searching for conflict. They are searching for holiness. But instead of being welcomed, they are told their devotion is dangerous. Their love for the traditional liturgy is treated as rebellion. Their loyalty is questioned, yet the truth is visible to anyone who dares to look honestly. While modern parishes grow emptier year after year, traditional chapels are overflowing. Where the faith is preserved, families are numerous, children fill the pews, vocations flourish. Young people discover a sense of reverence that they cannot find elsewhere. This is not a threat. This is life. This is renewal, and yet it is treated as a problem. The Society of St. Pius X may not be perfect, no group is, but in their response to Cardinal Arborelius, they revealed something essential. The problem is not that they are dividing the Church. The problem is that the Church itself is divided in how it treats its own children. One part offers recognition and faculties, another part rejects and silences. The contradiction does not lie in the SSPX, it lies in the very heart of the hierarchy. And that leaves us with a haunting question. How long can the Catholic Church live with this contradiction? How long can it proclaim mercy while practicing exclusion? How long can it invite everyone, yet erase the presence of those who love the Church's own tradition? For now, the faithful attached to the old rite continue to do what they have always done. They pray, they worship, they raise their children in the faith, they keep the sacraments alive. They pray for the Pope every single day, even when their loyalty is doubted. They do not abandon the Church, even when parts of the Church seem ready to abandon them. But make no mistake, this is not only about them. This is about the path the Church will take in the years to come. Will it continue to drive away those who carry its richest traditions? Or will it finally recognize that these Catholics are not enemies, but family? And so, as the dust settles on this latest clash, one thing is certain: the response of the SSPX has forced the world to face a question that cannot be ignored any longer. The real division is not between tradition and Rome. The real division is within Rome itself, and until that division is healed, the promise of a jubilee for all will remain just that, a promise, unfulfilled.